more experience flying in space than we do, long duration. And they've done it very well. Their systems are simpler. It's like their airplanes. Their airplanes are built to do a specific mission, okay? And they're built with a budget in mind that is probably a lot lower than our budget, but they do it well. They've been very successful. They've had fatalities in space as well. But when we might take something out that's, try and find an example, this exit sign right here. It's probably a laser etched exit sign. It's been cut by some machine, you know, going through a process. And on the space station, you'll find little teeny tags on the US side that are machined, etched, fine looking little engineering works of art about this big. There's probably 2 or 3 of them in the world. And we probably paid a few $1,000s to have Boeing manufacture that thing. Stuck it up there. The Russians gave a Dremel tool to a guy and said, make it. It's been made 10 minutes of his time, does the exact same thing, doesn't look as pretty, okay, but it's functional and does what it's designed to do, okay? Who's doing it right, okay? We do stuff very remarkable in this country. We're very capable of doing some really remarkable things. They have a different way, and they're just as capable. You know, otherwise, when the shuttle quits flying in 2010, who gets us to space station? It's not us, it's the Russians. We'll be paying them a premium to fly our people to space. So, watch the price go up. Yes, ma'am.
Do you feel like your Native American perspective on things, do you feel like you have one, and if you do you feel like that offers more respect for the things that you might find in space and on other bodies, as opposed to
Yeah, quick answer is yes. I'll tell you why. Do I think my Native American heritage impacts the way I think and look at things? And what it would be? Yes, it is. And here's why. When I was at NASA, I've been there a couple of years, I get a letter from NASA headquarters from, I think it was President Hale of the Navajo Nation, writing a letter and complaint to NASA for the fact that we sent the lunar prospector to the moon to crash on the surface of the moon and spread Eugene Shoemaker's ashes all over the surface of the moon. Why are you doing that? That's disrespectful. And NASA's like, well, John, what do we say? I mean, I kid you not, I got that, and I said, well, you know, I didn't realize I'd be in a position saying, you just think about it, it's a matter of respect. It's a matter of understanding people's beliefs and respecting their beliefs and recognizing that and explaining why we're doing something. So NASA never intended to go out and disrespect somebody by throwing somebody's ashes on board the moon, okay? There's private companies now that people want to pay them to do that. But the idea is to recognize that there's a spirituality associated with the celestial body that's the focus of prayers, and it means something. And that when doing what we do, we desecrate it. So I said, it's a matter of education. Tell them you don't do it out of disrespect. Ignorance, perhaps. But it's not intended to be disrespectful. And start a dialogue. And I think the administrator shortly thereafter had a bunch of people from the Navajo Nation and some Pueblos into Washington, D.C. to discuss just that very thing. I think just, you know, growing up, whether you grew up in a traditional environment or you didn't grow up in a traditional environment, you grew up because your parents, who your parents are, and your parents' parents, and it's inherent in who you are, how you look at things, and your work ethic, and your belief, and your spirituality is all based on that, be it traditional or non-traditional. We all take great pride in who we are and where we come from, and I think everything we do is based on that, be it education-wise or just inherent to who we are. So I think, yes, certainly, Native American heritage plays a strong part in that. Yeah. To answer your question?
Yeah, and you know, if life forms are found on Mars, are we going to, you know, take them prisoners, or are we going to honor them and say hello?
You know, it goes back to when we go, why are we going, and how are we going? And is it a political thing?
Right.
Okay, you know, we learn something every day, and as we will go in an international community, you have to go with the utmost respect for it, and I think what we as citizens drive our politicians to do, it's up to us. They'll do what they want if we don't do anything, if we don't say anything about it. If we don't want them to fly in space, we're interested in it, we don't say anything, they're not going to fly in space. They're going to spend the money on something else. They'll spend money on stuff that's important to them, important to their constituents. And if for them, their constituents are flying in space, engineering, science, math, education, alternative fuels, whatever. And if you don't do it, you're out of there, bud or woman. Okay, that's what required for us to do as a part of democracy. Speak up, speak your mind, and then go there and be respectful for whatever you find. Anybody else? Good? Yes, sir.
If you ever find out that it's live somewhere else in the universe, would you be surprised?
If I found out there was life, we find there's life in the universe somewhere else, would I be surprised? I think we'll all be surprised, but you ever look at, I'll close with, that's a great question. There's the Hubble camera. It's taken some spectacular photos of things billions of miles away, billions of years away, actually. Light travels at a constant velocity, right? 3.2 times 10, how many are meters per second squared? 3.2 times 10 meters per second squared. Travels really fast, okay? The light in the pictures of Hubble may be 10 billion years old. There's one that is called Hubble Deep Field, and if you look at it, if you look at the pictures, there's all these galaxies in this picture. I wish I had one. I apologize, I don't. But that picture represents, if you hold a dime into your arm and look at the eye of the president, okay, that picture represents that eye, okay? Now, place that all over the universe. And in that picture, there's thousands of galaxies in that one picture. In every galaxy, there's billions of stars. So if you start taking that dime and you mosaic it all over the sky, that's what statistically represents the billions and billions of stars that are out there. And they found planets orbiting stars in some different place in the universe by looking at the light from a star. And if there's a big body rotating around that star, it causes the star to shift a little bit, move ever so slightly, and it changes the wavelength of the light, and the light changes colors. And they can determine, looking at the light of a star, if there's something orbiting it. So they've actually seen planets. They've deduced planets around stars. They're out there. So take those billions and billions and billions and billions of stars. There's a planet around one of those that's just the right distance away, that there is the right temperature and the right constituents in its atmosphere, that life exists. Hydrogen is very common in the universe. Nitrogen is very common in the universe. Carbon, all this stuff. I mean, it's out there. They see it in the spectral analysis of these stars. It's out there. But are we the only ones in all these billions and billions and billions and billions of stars that it's all come together and made it work? Statistically, I don't think so. And I think life exists maybe somewhere in the universe, but they're not driving UFOs around New Mexico and mutilating cattle and hiding from us. I don't think they've come here to do that. My question is, why would they? But I think life exists in some form. And that's going to fundamentally change the way we look at ourselves. I'll be surprised, at the same time I go, yeah, why not? So, thank you very much for letting me share my story and my thoughts on it.